It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Again. .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Friday, and I'm glad you made it.
Today's show is sponsored by pretzel-flavored mustard. Why eat the pretzel when you can just eat the mustard?
Yeah, all you got to do is just slop that in there. No chewing involved, by the way. And I like that part, especially for people with dentures. People who watched the convention last night. Now, just so you know how I do it, just to get you up to speed on it, I know that he's going to speak at a certain time, but I'm already going to bed. And so I didn't listen last night. When I get here in the morning, I have a lot of work that I need to do, and at some point, I just called the thing up on a YouTube page that'll have the entire speech, whether it's a State of the Union address, whatever it might be, that's what I do. And so as I got done working, I thought, usually I can listen to something in the background while I'm doing other things. But this one I thought, well, I'll pay attention to it. So I made sure to clear up all my work, and then I put Trump's speech on. No, I didn't watch the Hulk Hogan speech. I really didn't care. And there were some other people, celebrities and so on. I'm not really interested in celebrities. I just want to hear what Trump had to say. Well, I'm glad I did that, and for the Trump fans out there, this is just me as a guy who has been a public speaker since I was a little kid. And so when I listen to other people speaking publicly, there's that part of my brain that goes into sort of a critical mode of, well, they ought to do it this way, because I've been doing it for so long. And when it comes to listening to Trump, I usually listen to him later so I can fast forward. Now, if you're a Trump supporter, you know what I mean by that. He'll start off on a good topic, and then he'll stop and say, because it's the most wonderful thing, because it's amazing, it's beautiful. They've never seen anything like it before. In the history of the world, it's like the greatest thing ever. It's just absolutely amazing. And he goes on and on, he goes like that. That's where I fast forward, so I can get to the meat of what he's going to say. All right. I was impressed on the one hand, for Trump, that was a very subdued tone. He's usually much louder and more animated. And while he did take a couple of stabs at a few topics that are hot points, against liberals, he did not specifically talk about liberals. In fact, when he talked about Democrats, the majority of them, not being extreme woke leftists. And that's who he wanted to appeal to as Americans. But even then, he never really went on the attack against anyone. He talked more about ideas. Now, I wish he had gotten a little more into some detail. Like, for example, when he says, I'm going to reduce inflation. Great. And I believe he knows how to do it because we've seen him do it. But how exactly? How about some details about what you want to get done? So there was not a whole lot of details, but there was a lot of good ideas. And I'm glad that he didn't go on the attack, no name calling, because my opinion is one of the ways that Trump can win this is if he appeals to Americans and appears to be more presidential, more subdued. Now, I'm not sure if it was I noticed he's been acting this way for most of the campaign anyway. Even during that debate with Biden, he was not his usual loud, animated self and wasn't throwing insults around and so on. He's been much more subdued, and after the shooting, even more so. So if he's up there sounding presidential and presenting himself in that way and trying to offer ideas and solutions, then I think there's much more of a broader appeal. So we'll see how that resonates with the American people come Election Day. And again, I don't care what the polls say afterwards. I don't listen to what the polls say. But, Trump last night, overall, I thought it was a good speech. If I was his editor, there's a lot of those rambling pieces that he always does that I would have thrown out. And I would have offered up, hey, could you put some more detail into some of your ideas as to how you would like that to get these things done. But Trump has always been sort of a rambling speaker anyway. So, that's better than Biden, who has been just mumbling. one of the reasons that I think they took Biden, I know they say he has COVID and so on, but one of the reasons also I think Biden is off the campaign trail is the more interviews he did, the more campaigning he did, the worse it got. Now, that's something we have to get into. I will in the next segment because I want to talk about Trump first. But in the next segment, Biden seems to be in a lot of trouble with his party, and there's questions as to whether he'll even, politically speaking, as the presidential nominee, survive the weekend. But let's get back to Trump. So as I'm listening to his speech, I do think he hit all of the key points that Republicans would love. And I do appreciate the fact that he did not, again, not just attack his opponents personally. He never called out Biden by name, that I remember anyway. And he used to call him things like Sleepy Joe and stuff like that. He didn't do that. There were a few little barbs and little jabs now and then, but not a whole lot. And I think that's something that Trump said he wanted to do at the beginning. Well, just after the shooting that happened, during the course of that weekend, he said he wanted to change the tone of the convention, which was something that I was glad to hear because I've said this before. One of the things that Ronald Reagan did that made Ronald Reagan so successful is he ran a positive campaign on America. This was a time during Reagan's first run for office, but it was his second as well. We were going through a period of time where Americans were feeling really bad about themselves. We were just down. Everything was just so depressing and seeming hopeless. And then Reagan comes along and gives us this great speech about how wonderful America is and our potential as Americans and what we could be. And he rallied people, got us together again, made us feel good about ourselves, made us feel good as a nation even. And so that's why, especially when Reagan ran the second time around, it was a landslide. He only lost one state. That's never been seen before. But I think a lot of that was a positive message, which is what Trump said he wanted to do. And so as you watch the other speakers, you notice that most of what they had to say was positive. Yes, they did pick on the left a little bit, but mostly they didn't. Mostly they talked about the future of America and what we could achieve and coming together as Americans. That was what the Republican convention was geared toward at the last minute. And I think pretty much they succeeded in that. There's something else that I noticed and I'm glad that the Republicans did this. Now, things like this don't matter to me, but again, as someone who's been in the media, I pay attention to it. It does make a difference in Democrat conventions. They have always brought in their Hollywood types to design the stage. And so what's in the background behind whoever's speaking, especially their presidential candidate, is inspiring. And that really does have an effect on people who are affected by that. I don't know. I stand back and notice it and watch it, curious about how they're crafting this, what their tactics are. But there are a lot of people who are swayed by this. It, to them, is inspiring if they have an inspiring background behind the man who's supposed to be their presidential candidate. The Republicans have always sucked at this. Always. This time, though, the convention hall looked great, and the background was always amazing. Whoever was in charge of that did a dynamite job. And while Trump was speaking, behind him, besides a lot of different screens showing all sorts of different images, behind him, did you notice, for those who watched it, he was speaking in front of the White House. Yeah, that I thought was really just a brilliant idea. Let's go ahead and put him back in the White House. So we're going to have Trump speaking in front of the White House with all sorts of inspiring images around him as he speaks. That kind of stuff does make a difference with a lot of people out there. So this time the Republicans really had designed a great backdrop that looks so good on television. And again, those things really do make a difference. Okay, will Biden survive, politically speaking, the weekend? That's next.
Aliens are going to be super confused when they show up threatening to overthrow our leaders, and we're all stoked and offer to help.
Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Got something to say? Chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app or call 888-97-WOODS.
.3 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So even I've heard some Democrats saying that the Republican convention was very good. They actually pulled it together. It's a very positive convention. And I know it's a surprise to a lot of you out there who are hardcore Republicans or Trump supporters and so on. But there's a lot of Americans who, hey, they voted for Biden last time, but they would vote for Trump this time. And they're sort of in the middle and haven't made up their minds about things. There's a lot of people like that. And so those are the ones that we're always trying to sway. Now, here's the latest problem for Joe Biden. The story in front of me says, President Joe Biden will step aside as a presumptive Democrat nominee as soon as this weekend, several top Democrats said. Now, that's top Democrats saying that. I don't know what Biden says. Because right now, Biden is, well, at home, supposedly with COVID, which I asked the question yesterday. He's had all of his shots, all the boosters and everything. What? How many times is he going to get this? And he was talking to some reporters about having COVID, and then after he got in his car to go back home, because they flew him to go back home to get some rest, as he's getting in his car, then he puts a mask on. Really? You weren't that talking to the reporters? All right. So I'm just looking on. I'm trying to say X. I still am stuck on Twitter. I can't get used to X. I don't think it's as good. It says, Joe Biden is his party's nominee. He is the president of the United States. He's running for re-elections. Baseless conjecture from anonymous sources isn't a scoop. Tonight, a convicted felon will talk about how he will make people's lives worse again. So that's the kind of things going back and forth with the Democrats. And yet there's other Democrats. Here's one. Joe Biden is not the Democrat nominee. These are Democrats talking. Joe Biden is not the Democrat nominee for president. He cannot be the nominee until the delegates formally vote at the convention. He may be the presumptive nominee, but it is incorrect to assume the process is fully complete. And at this point, this is the conjecture back and forth. Will he survive the weekend politically? Because more and more Democrats are stepping up going, okay. And a big part of this also is, not just as Biden went out to speak, the more he spoke, the more press conferences he gave, the worse he looked. But a lot of big money donors have turned off the spigot. And the Democrats need that money. Here's another one for you. Alex is this guy's name. As I've been saying for years, there is nothing in Joe Biden's character that will compel him to stand down. Not a single member of his inner circle has broken with him publicly. He doesn't give a blank about what the media says about him, even the New York Times or the Obama pods. And that's the next thing. When asked about it, because, Obama's been on top of this the entire time that Biden's been president. And when Obama is not denying anything or saying anything to defend Joe, you got to wonder. Also, when Nancy Pelosi shows up in the White House, Joe, it might be time to step down, and trying to talk him into it. Story says nearly two-thirds of Democrats want Biden to quit the race, according to the Associated Press. Quote, his choice is to be one of history's heroes or to be sure the fact that all right. It gets into all sorts of quotes that I think don't really matter. Nancy Pelosi, House Majority Leader, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and three leading party bosses are working to remove Biden from the ticket. I should have said Nancy Pelosi, House Minority Leader, according to media reports. So we have Nancy Poo and Chuck Schumer trying to convince Biden that's enough. Just stop. Now, the question would be, if they are able to convince Joe this weekend, that's enough, stop. Let's get somebody else. Now, can the Democrats do it? Yes, but it's tricky. Right now, Joe is in charge of all the money that they have. It's been given to him as a presumptive nominee. So they got to find a way to, one of the ways, and this is kind of convoluted, he accepts the nomination but then steps down and hands the money to somebody else. It gets really convoluted as to how this has to work to get the money to the new candidate. Then what do they do for a new candidate? Now they can have an emergency session. They still have to have their convention. And they can do some emergency procedures at the convention, but then who do they put up? And then they have just a few months to campaign the guy, quickly campaign the guy. I do like this. In fact, I shouldn't have shut this off. Give me a second while I call this back up again. This I thought was just, I laughed, which is why I'm telling you. Trump and Vance refused to schedule the vice presidential debate until Kamala Harris picks her running mate. So, assuming she is going to then be the presidential nominee for the Democrats, she has to pick a nominee for a VP, and then they'll go ahead and have a VP debate because she's not going to be VP anymore. That's just funny. They're already assuming on the Republican side, well, what are you going to do? Come on, what are you going to do? I mean, obviously, you're going to replace Joe, right? So the Democrats have created this problem for themselves. Now they're trying to figure it out. And so far, they haven't figured it out. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way after local news update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming.
Again.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so the conversation I got into before that little news information break there was a lot of what the news media hype is. And news media hype has nothing to do with reality. They have to hype things. Remember what I've told you many times. News media, and if you can even call them news media anymore, they don't report news. They report controversy and hype, and when they cannot find it, they will create it. So, is Joe Biden being run out or not? Will he survive the weekend politically or not? I always have to say politically because you always wonder, will he actually survive the weekend? But all right. Morning, Jim. And I-80 John. John's in Granite Canyon. He said, morning, Glenn. Jill will not let Joe drop out. Yeah, there are people in Joe's inner circle, they can't have him go because the big guy is what keeps them in power and money. And that includes Hunter Biden. He needs Daddy to protect him, even if Daddy's just a walking corpse. Weekend at Bernie's. Let's see, Red is in Casper. The Bidens have no issues moving money through tricky situations. That's true. And so when it comes to the Democrats, will figure it out. If they get rid of Joe and they have to pick somebody else, however they work that, the money situation will be resolved. Then it's a matter of also they got to get whoever that candidate is on ballots in all 50 states because Joe has already been locked in on several ballots already. The Democrats and Republicans are having their conventions kind of late compared to how states lock in some of their ballots. So that can be fixed, though. Trust me, somebody will fix it. John is up there in Gillette. Morning, John. He said, what will be funny is when someone challenges Biden's competence to sign over the money. Okay, yes, now. Sign the papers, Grandpa. Grandpa, just sign the papers. That's what it's going to be like. So, all right. Morning Joe is the television show on MSNBC. Even they are saying that he should get out of the race. Well, hear for yourself. I'm sorry, I'm going to play a little bit of MSNBC. Try not to throw up.
The Dems need to get it together. They really need to get whatever they've got going. Whatever it is, the problem should not be our candidate. The focus should be on Donald Trump. You know, it may or may not be Joe Biden. I trust Joe Biden's abilities. I also trust Nancy Pelosi's political acumen. Nobody knows politics more than her, and nobody more than Nancy Pelosi. She does not get out there without information to back it up. She doesn't take risks, and she knows her politics. She knows her numbers.
She doesn't lose votes. You remember, whenever Nancy Pelosi, people say, well, is this going to pass or not? We would always say, when Nancy was Speaker, we'd say, well, if she puts it on the floor, it's going to pass, because she knows where the votes are better than anybody I've ever seen.
If there is a change, it's got to be a change that gets Barack Obama behind the candidate, Michelle Obama behind the candidate, George W. Bush behind the candidate, former presidents and world leaders and people who understand the importance of democracy, because it's going to take citizens who care about this country.
So that's I get the idea. Okay, I don't want you to heave up your breakfast. That's Morning Joe. But even they're saying during the course of that is he's got to go now. When Nancy Pelosi shows up to talk to Joe, and she's trying to convince him, maybe we need to make a change here, Joe. Okay, at some point, maybe Joe is listening. But I do think that, Joe Biden and some of the people around Joe Biden at this point are still trying to circle the wagons, although that circle is getting smaller all the time. And it really is a big problem when the big money candidates pull out. Democrats have some deep pocket friends that are willing to throw heap of big money at them. And when those people pull that money like they have been, now it's panic time. So let's find out what the news media got right, which is never really much, because I've heard from all sorts of different news media outlets, liberal, conservative, whoever else, that they think that Biden is not going to make it through the weekend politically and that the Democrats have to rush. By the way, the Democrats created this mess themselves. So I have no sympathy whatsoever for the Democrats. They made this mess. They should have, if they were the compassionate people that they really say they were, a long time ago, they would have said to the American people, we love our guy, old Joe here, but, well, obviously you can tell, it's time for a change. So thank you, Joe. Here's some ice cream. There's a nice, comfortable chair under an umbrella on the beach. God bless you, man. And it would have found somebody else. And they would have done that a long time ago. They created this mess. Now, the fun part for you and me is sitting back and watching them untangle it. And the spin they tried to offer us as they do it. That, to me, is just going to be so much fun. 642, Wake Up One.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
It's time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, I'm going to take you to a bar in New Zealand.
I love bars in New Zealand.
Yeah, okay. And I want you to imagine that here are the thirsty locals sitting around enjoying the beer. And then at some point, for some reason, a fire starts. Okay. Yeah, it's a faulty gas line or something like that. Yeah. So as a bunch of beer drinkers would do, of course, they start to pour beer on it.
Which probably makes it bigger.
Yeah. So let me see. Yeah, they are. It says, even firefighters who responded to the incident, they were impressed with the locals' quick thinking. One volunteer said he saw the flames while heading home from work. He quickly checked to see if anyone was inside, called emergency services, headed to the station to grab the truck. Took him 10 minutes to get back. And inside, people were actually pouring bottles of beer, opening up bottles of beer and shaking them so they could spray it on the fire. Fortunately, no one was hurt thanks to those locals who were managing with beer to contain the fire, and then the fire department put
the beer put
out.
The fire out.
Yes. I thought it would be like alcohol, therefore
that's
would
what
burn
I thought.
like crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's I'll give him this.
Okay.
Putting out a fire with beer is acceptable.
Yeah. Okay.
Spilling beer.
No, it's not acceptable.
Is not acceptable.
No, you absolutely do not want. And also, I would think, Frank, if you're going to use a bottle of beer to put out a fire, you grab the cheap stuff.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you don't go grabbing
No. The lowest of the low.
Yeah, top shelf stuff stays on the top shelf. That's what you're trying to save, by the way, the top shelf.
Now, you don't want to put the fire out with, like, whiskey or anything.
Right. No, that would definitely be bad. Yeah. And I wonder for those people who have beer on tap, because these guys were using bottles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you spray that across the room?
No, you got to pour it out and in the pitcher, and then you can throw a whole pitcher on it.
What if you just took a big keg and rolled it into the fire and then hit it with an axe?
That keg, you'll probably cause more damage to people with the axe and the keg than the fire.
I've seen people pop a keg and it squirts all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do it the right way.
Okay. To me, the keg is like a giant beer bomb.
It can be.
Yes, and if you can explode it right by the fire, you can put it all out at once.
Don't give these guys any ideas.
I'm just thinking beer fire strategy, Frank. I'm just working.
All righty. The National High School Finals Rodeo continuing in Rock Springs. In the second go-round of the barrel racing, Abigail Olson is currently in third. In the go time, Morgan Watt of Eden in 13th. Hadley Thompson from Yoder currently 11th. In the breakaway roping and in the cutting, Carly Peterson from Buffalo is 7th. In the second go of the bareback for the guys, Chaz Dewey from Carlisle is 7th. And Pace Garrett of Gillette is 12th in the saddle bronc. The Wyoming girls team is in second place. They've had a fantastic rodeo. They're only 30 points behind Texas for first, and the Wyoming boys are in 21st place. So that second go-around will continue today, and then the first session tomorrow, and then the championship short go will be tomorrow night in Rock Springs. Tomorrow is the beginning of the afternoon sessions of the 128th annual Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo. So that'll start at 1 p.m. tomorrow at Frontier Park. There has been some slack rounds this week, like in steer wrestling, 117 guys were in the slack round. In the tie-down roping, 192. In barrels, 216. In steer roping, 229. And 193 team ropers were in there. Teams. That's a lot of folks to get through a slack round. But they'll start tomorrow at 1 p.m. and that will run all the way through the following Sunday in Cheyenne. Legion Baseball, the Cheyenne Sixers over Lubbock, Texas, 6-0 down in Lubbock. And also the wall ball team, whoever they are, beat the Cheyenne Hawks 10-4. Then the Sixers will take on Fuego today in that tournament. Also, the Laramie AA Rangers will be in Gillette for a doubleheader. Coming up tomorrow, the Casper Oilers will host the Billings Scarlets. The Casper Spuds Collegiate Baseball team beat the Bison traveling team 6-0, so they're 36-6. Those two teams will play again tonight at Lansing Field. And the second half of the Major League Baseball season starts tonight, and the Colorado Rockies will host San Francisco. The Rockies were awful in the first half at 34-63. And the Wyoming Coaches Association All-Star Games for the high schoolers will be tomorrow at Casper College. The volleyball will be at 1, the girls basketball at 3, and the boys basketball at 5. Tonight will be their annual Hall of Fame banquet, and that's in sports.
So Steve in Casper reminds us that there's CO2 in the keg and also a lot of CO2 in the beer in general, and that helps put out the fire.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I got a question about, all of these people who show up to this event. What is the ratio of animals for the event per people?
The ratio for animals to people.
Yeah.
I think there's more people there than animals.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So the animals are out there multiple times.
Yes.
Okay.
Over the course of 9 or 10 days. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just was kind of curious. I mean, it's not like one animal. You got your one ride out there animal. You're done. Back you go. Your day's done. They'll bring them out more than that.
Yeah. I mean, and there's the stock contractor, and he contracts with other stock contractors to get all the cattle in there. It's quite an involved thing. It really is.
I can imagine the logistics. Wow. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. Then back to us. Oh, Senator Barrasso went on a tirade and was actually screaming at somebody. We'll get into that next hour. It was glorious. Wake up, Wyoming.
Yeah.
The time. It's a Friday, and by God, I'm glad you made it.
Today's show was sponsored by pretzel flavored mustard. Why eat the pretzel when you can just eat the mustard?
And the beauty of it is no chewing is involved whatsoever. Okay, so let's get to the Senator Barrasso story. I did have some people yesterday when I was on the air sending me notes. Have you seen this? And yes, but I wanted to get through the whole thing before I got on the air with it, which means I'll probably have to wait to the next day. Now, this is where Senator Barrasso goes after the woman who's in charge or currently in charge of our Secret Service agency for the big debacle with the Trump assassination attempt. All right. Side note here. I've known Senator Barrasso since I've been in Wyoming, and while I don't get to see him a whole lot, there's times we run into each other. I think one of my favorite times, I'm at the grocery store at the self-checkout. He shops at the same grocery store. And I look over, the guy standing next to me at the self-checkout is Senator Barrasso. John? Hey, we start striking up a conversation, and then some little old ladies yelling at us for holding up the line. And we've flown on the same airplane together. Like, I get on the plane, there he is, stuff like that. So we bump into each other from time to time. Yes, I have his cell phone number. We chat occasionally. But I'm not going to say, oh, he's a friend of mine. No, I just run into people like this all the time just because of the job that I have. So I've known him for a while. And I've seen him get a little agitated. Okay, but agitated for him is still calm. Seen him get worked up a little bit, and his words get really short and snippy, but he's irritated. But I've never seen him raise his voice. Even when he is on the floor of the Senate and trying to make an impassioned speech, his impassioned speech is rather subdued compared to other people. Okay, because he's more of a soft-spoken, even-keel kind of guy, even when he's animated at his best. So it is rare to see him yelling at somebody, which I was actually genuinely surprised. So here's where we're at the Republican convention, right? And it turns out that Kimberly Cheadle who's the director of the Secret Service, was there too. And, of course, like you, there's a lot of people who want answers to what happened to the president on that day and how the Secret Service could have dropped the ball so badly. It was such a massive screw-up, or screw-ups, I should say. Now, there was a conference call that a bunch of members of Congress, including Senator Barrasso, were in on, where the director, is supposed to have gotten with her staff, and they were going to have just a big conference call where they were going to brief the senators and I think some members of the House on what happened, along with some other things. Take a couple of questions about it and then move on. But she really didn't answer any questions. In fact, she dodged a lot of things, and the call ends early. And, of course, all of those elected representatives now really irritated because she really didn't do anything, didn't answer anything, ended the call early, and they want questions answered. She's been dodging. So she is cornered when people find her at the GOP convention, when I'm surprised she showed up. Now, of course, she is the director. This is a convention, and there's a presidential candidate there and a former president, so she probably has to be there. But still, people were surprised she showed up. And so she is cornered. Senator Marsha Blackburn confronted her, and then here comes Senator Barrasso and joins in. At some point, the director, Kimberly, turns and tries to walk away. She's kind of done with the conversation, and she's walking away. And they weren't done with her. One of the things they would like her to do is resign. They're not done with her. So as she's walking away, they're following her. And the more they follow her and the more agitated they're getting, the faster she tries to walk. This almost became a run across the whole hall that they're in. They're sort of like an outside hall. It went up some stairs, too, if you watch the video of this. They were not quite running, but it was getting really close to that. Now, if you listen carefully, the little clip I'm going to play, you can almost hear Senator Barrasso's voice. There's a lot of background noise, so I hope this translates well on air.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. No concern. You answer the United States. I'm going to tell you the answer. The answer to us. The answer to us.
So if you heard the part, I know that's difficult to hear, Barrasso yelling, "No shame." Yeah. So I've never seen him acting like that, where he was actually yelling at somebody. Now, the senator also got on various news networks where he talked about this and was asked questions about it. And I would have to say also he was a bit more animated here. I seen him on Fox News. Let me jump over real quick to an interview. Because he's going, of course, booth to booth, talking to all of the networks, right? And this is a question that's brought up because it was a scene that was created there at the Republican convention. So here he is on NBC, not MSNBC, but NBC, and he's being asked about this.
To concerns about the Secret Service response. It's our understanding there was a DHS briefing. Did you participate? What can you share with us, if anything, from the unclassified portion?
Yeah, I participated in the whole thing. To me, it was a cover-your-ass briefing by the Secret Service. The director of the Secret Service needs to go. That shooter was identified as a suspect, suspicious character, a full 1 hour before the shooting occurred. Had a rangefinder, a backpack, and then they lost sight of him and never really followed up on that. This was an hour before.
That's what you heard today in this briefing.
We heard today in the briefing.
60 full minutes.
60 full minutes from the time he was identified as a character to be looked at, and then they lost track of him. There didn't seem to be any bit at all in this whole briefing of anyone held accountable. I wanted to ask a question. I talked to other senators who wanted to ask questions. We were cut off from doing so, and we had questions that we were able to say, wait a second, what really happened there? Who's going to be held accountable? Who was in charge of that building? Why wasn't the roof scrutinized? How did all these things happen? They didn't answer any of those questions for us. A man was killed protecting his family. The former president of the United States was almost killed. It was completely unsatisfying as a briefing. I think they just did it because they felt like they had to check a box instead of actually providing us the information that the American people need to know. The FBI gave about half of the briefing. They didn't even get called until 20 minutes or so after the shooting occurred in terms of, was this part of some other plot? But we needed to know what happened. How could this have occurred this close to the death of a former president? We didn't get any kind of satisfaction. Time for the head of the Secret Service to go.
Okay, so you get the basic idea. But of course, when he was chasing her down the hallway there, he was, again, screaming at her, and I've never seen him like that before. So you got to watch the video to see it. He's pretty animated as he yells at her, no shame, and things like that. So he would like her to step down. We'll see what happens. That's another one. Does the director of the Secret Service survive the weekend? I have no idea. But if anything, she should step down, considering the mess they made out of this whole thing. Wolfie is in campaign. Is she another DEI debacle? I don't know. I looked a little bit at her history there, and I don't know if she is or is not another DEI debacle. I didn't think she was qualified, although she does have a background in security. But I looked, and it's not the first time she's worked with the Secret Service. But I still looked at it and thought, I don't know if that would be the person that I would select, honestly. And I think it was also based on what I've seen since then. This is where I like to wait for more information to come in. A lack of communication. What I mean by that is I was watching something this morning on how they set up the perimeter for this. And picture, no pun intended on this at all, more like a bullseye scenario. So in other words, there's where the president is, right? That's one circle. And then another circle outside of that, another circle outside of that. And, they have different layers. And they get to a certain point where the outer circle is local police. So where the shooter was way out in the circle, at the edge of the circle where the local police would be. In fact, he was just outside of the last circle. So one of the reasons why there was nobody there, not because of a pitched roof, which was a lame excuse, but the shooter would have been just outside of the last circle, which is something that needs to be reviewed. Because when you look at the roof, obviously that should have been inside a circle. But then and this has been a problem in the past, there is a communication problem with the local police and the Secret Service. Now, a lot of times, local police are working side by side with the Secret Service. So if somebody sees something, everybody is notified everywhere because they have shared communications. In this case, there wasn't shared communications, and so that's not the only reason, but part of the reason that the ball was dropped, because so many people had no idea what was going on. So if you wonder, why did it take so long? Because nobody knew is why. Because their communication just absolutely stunk. And that's yet another thing that has to be reviewed among many things.
The person you have dialed has reached their people limit for the day. Please hang up and try back tomorrow.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
Research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
7:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, a few people here bringing some good points up. Morning, Joel. He's over there in Casper. He says, good morning, Glenn. Did you happen to notice the Secret Service sniper on the roof? You mean the pitched roof that was pitched more than where the shooter was? Gosh, that was another lame excuse. We didn't put anyone up there because the roof was pitched and it would be on. The sniper who shot the shooter was on a roof that was pitched far more than that. But all right. That sniper on the roof that killed the assassin only had to move his rifle 5 to 10 degrees to shoot the assassin. How could that be? How could I would not be in the field of view the entire time? Well, I'll give you an example of why I think that is. Now, if you don't mind, Joel, I'm going to do this from a pilot's perspective. So when I'm flying along here, and let's say I'm near an airport and there's a tower, the tower will say to me that there's another airplane coming in to land while I'm in the pattern. And they ask me to look for that airplane because they want us to be able to see each other, keep eyes on the other traffic so we won't run into each other up there. So they tell me about the plane, and I look over to where they tell me the plane is. Now, sometimes, and everybody does this, sometimes I look over and go, oh, there he is, and I nail it. Other times, I'm sitting there scanning, and if somebody's with me, like my flight instructor, he's scanning. And eventually we go, oh, there he is. Takes us a bit. And if it hadn't been called out by air traffic, we wouldn't have seen it. Another time, and we've all done this, flying into an airport. Where's the airport? According to the moving map in front of me, it's right in front of me. I don't see it. Where is it? That happens a lot. Okay. And the idea is to improve scanning techniques to get better at that. So if there's a sniper on a roof looking for a bad guy, he's doing a scan. And sure enough, that scan could be, if he's told to scan this area, he's scanning a certain area, he might completely miss a target that's there unless someone calls his attention to it, is my point. So I can actually see how that happens. Medieval Knievel's in Cheyenne. You're telling me, he says, the last circle of protection was 130 yards away? Yeah, see, that's what got me. Now, understand, Medieval, I was watching something on this based on what the reporter found out. And I was as shocked as you is how is that building that has just a perfect line of sight to Trump not in their perimeter? Now, they might say, well, the perimeter is only so far away. Yes, but obviously, if you got a building that somebody could climb on top and get a shot off, you want to extend your perimeter, right? So he says, you're telling me the circle of protection was 130 yards away. After that, it's local PD, not a real threat distance? Even a decent pistol shooter can make a 130-yard shot. That's just astounding. 130 yards is out of bounds. Yeah, again, I completely 100% agree with you on that. As if the report that I was watching, and it had graphics that went with it and all this kind of stuff, if they were correct about that, I look at it just like you do and think that's as far as you're going? Really? Especially if there's buildings in the area. I mean, what if we're talking about a building that looked kind of like a warehouse building to me? But let's go higher than that. What if there had been an apartment complex nearby that was like 5 stories tall? Well, I bet your 130-yard rule doesn't apply anymore if somebody can get way up there and aim down. So that's where we get back to, apparently they need to review how they're doing this. Now, I can understand their bullseye technique. You got a group that's around the president, and they're in close, and they're ready to get in tight and pile on to use their bodies to protect him if they need to. Okay. And then we kind of go out in circles after that. I think that's a good technique. That's a good idea. But, yeah, those circles need to go out farther, especially if there's something that rises above a hilltop, a building, something like that. Yeah, then they need to say, well, under these conditions, let's extend our perimeter. Then it's a matter of, as I said before, working with local police. Because once they get into the outer perimeters, that's where the Secret Service runs out of people, and they're going to have some help. So they call local police, which makes perfect sense to me. I get it. But they better have good communication with that local police, which is also where I think a good part of the breakdown happened, is they didn't have good communications. So when something's going on out there and people are not talking to each other about a potential problem, well, that leads to part of the breakdown. DJ and Gillette, there were 2 counter snipers on the pitched roof. They surely saw him. To my knowledge, DJ, they didn't see him until their attention was called. And I still kind of wonder about that, too, because that's another thing that I would like to have. In fact, here's a thought. Somebody said this on Monday's program, sent me a text like you guys are. Why don't they have drones up there? Yeah, drones are a big thing these days. Use everything possible. I would have more than one. So besides people walking around looking, I also want to know, DJ, while we're at it, why, and everybody's been asking this question, how come there weren't police officers? If it's in the local police zone, why weren't there local police on that roof in advance? So when this guy shows up to try to pick a high point, the police are already up there. I mean, there's a lot wrong here. I mean, really a lot. This whole thing needs to be reviewed. And that's what I was saying on Monday. Oftentimes, the people that we look at and think, well, gosh, we're safe now. The professionals are here. Are they really as good as we have been led to believe? And I hate to make this comparison, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. It's a lot like when the Russian military invaded Ukraine. Didn't you think that Ukraine was going to fall within a week or less? So the Russians turned out to be nowhere near as good as we thought. They really screwed it up, and that's what I'm looking at here. The Secret Service is this bad? I thought they were that good. Coming up on 7:30, local news, weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
$7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. DJ, you bring up a good point. Let me tell you a little story based on that. This should get everybody thinking. DJ up there in Gillette says, also, Trump had better security at the rally in Casper 2 years ago. What changed? Okay, well, first off, I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around that was 2 years ago. Second thing is I love to tell people that I am the only radio, as far as I know, radio TV personality alive in existence ever that had to hit the dump button on a president, current or former. Because while he was on the air, Trump got passionate and he cussed. And I have this button, which is a 10-second delay. If I punch that button, 10 seconds disappear. And they don't exist anymore. So you're hearing my voice 10 seconds after I say it because of that delay, just in case someone cusses. And so when Trump cussed, I slapped the dump button, and I realized I just dumped Trump. Oh, my God. Has anyone, a broadcaster, ever in history ever had to hit the dump button on a president? Ever. As far as I know, I'm the only one. And so I wear that as a badge of honor. But okay, when Trump was coming in, because he was going to endorse Harriet Hageman, he was going to have a rally in Casper, endorse Harriet Hageman. So they were going to be at the Ford Wyoming Center in Casper. When Trump was coming into town that day, some friends of mine at the airport, they're in Hangar 1. Now, the hangars at the Casper Airport, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were built during World War II, for World War II. As people who know that airport, the entire airport was built to train bombers and fighters and so on. Was very active during the war. So these old hangars that are there, if you walk inside and look at the woodwork, and they're huge inside, and it was all done by hand. It's just magnificent work. Hangar 1, of course, is the furthest one. It's way off to, let's call it the west side. And that's where some friends of mine were running basically it's a mechanic shop for airplanes there, okay, is the short story. And they said, hey, we'll be able to see Trump get off his airplane. Because a few buildings up, Trump pulls up and he's going to get out. And there's a thing called an FBO, which is where pilots and passengers of private flights go in and out of. Okay. That's and they can get fuel and maintenance there and so on. So we knew that's where Trump was going to walk in. And I get this call, hey, we're all going to hang out at Hangar 1 so we can see Trump get off the airplane. Oh, okay. Sounds like fun. Sure, why not? So I go to the airport, and I'm at Hangar 1, and we see Trump's plane coming in. Now, this is not the Trump plane with the big Trump written on it. He had rented another plane. I don't know why he didn't have the official Trump plane. He had something different. But it's a really nice plane. That day was very windy. I mean, really windy. But, the pilot handled it just fine. I'm sure they were getting bumped around in there as they came in, but they landed fine. They pull up to the FBO. And when the plane pulls up, that's when I pointed up onto the rooftops and said to my friends, look at all the snipers. Because rooftops all over the place. Suddenly there were snipers all over the place with Secret Service. And as I'm looking at those guys, I'm sure they were looking back at us, but I'm thinking, I can just make out Trump as he got off the airplane. We're not all that close, but I can still obviously see that's Trump getting off the airplane right now. And it made me wonder, no one from Secret Service came over and talked to us. We were in Hangar 1. You would think that Secret Service would have come over and said, hey, what are you guys doing? Because we walked out of the hangar. We opened up the big doors and walked out onto the apron out there and just stood there and just watched. And nobody bothered us. Nobody questioned us. And it did cross my mind, if I was a bad guy with bad intentions, now, I would need a rifle to do it, sure, but it's well within range. There's no way someone could make that shot with a pistol. There's no way. But with a good rifle and someone who's a good shot, oh, absolutely. And so it did make me wonder, why aren't they over here? Now, after what I watched this morning about the different zones that they use around someone when the Secret Service lays out protection, we would have been outside of that zone. Which I look at and I think, okay, guys, you need to extend your zones. Out of all of the things that was screwed up that day, you need to extend your communications and your zones as two of many other things. There's two things that they need to fix. Because I did wonder about it on that day. There I am just watching Trump walk off the airplane. Governor Gordon was there. I obviously recognize Governor Gordon. Governor Gordon shakes Trump's hand. I think Senator Barrasso was there too, and a couple of other people like that. And then they walked through the doors and out to the vehicles that took Trump to the rally. And I'm just standing right there watching the whole thing, wondering, how come no one's come over here to ask us, what are you guys doing over here? We were obviously harmless, but how do they know that, right? 742, wake up.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. So once again, there's that. It's a nice morning out there, Don. I'm really enjoying it, but there's still that slight haze in the air.
Yeah, and it's going to be there. The haze is a little thinner today based on the latest maps I just looked at, but don't expect it to clear out. What you need is a cold front, something that can act like a big broom and just sweep the atmosphere clean of this smoke, and there's nothing like that, at least through the weekend that we see.
Okay, so the good news is, we're on the warm side here, but this is very seasonal temperatures.
Yeah, very comfortable. And last weekend we were looking at those 90s and 100s. This weekend, we're looking at 80s. Some areas of the state will only be in the upper 70s by Sunday. very nice temperatures for the middle of July.
Okay. Now, what about that chance of showers, which to me looks like, again, typical for this time of year, just scattered all over the place, and good luck.
Yeah, it depends on really the whim of the atmosphere and where you are at any particular time. The chances of afternoon and evening storms today through Sunday will be there. Today, the risk is a little bit higher than yesterday, and the highest chance of you getting rained on will be in the high country because the mountains are going to be where we're going to want to form first. So if you're going to go camping up in the hills, that's where your risk of thunderstorms will be the highest. But if you're going to be a lake or a reservoir, places like Glendo, you're headed out to maybe Flaming Gorge or Alcova, just keep in mind that once you hit those mid to late afternoon and evening hours, there's going to be these thunderstorms out there.
Okay. Now, this, of course, is a very difficult time for you, Don, because when the forecast gets into a seasonal rut, this is when I often suggest to you, Don, go take a vacation for a couple of days. We're good.
I know. I looked this morning because I was like, well, what can I find to talk about? There's not even a hurricane anywhere.
I'm sorry, there's no hurricane out there.
There is a lack of bad weather going on.
Yes, okay. Now, let me touch on the hurricane thing real quick, because we did start the hurricane season, even just a little tad early, not much, and it was a big one for just a little while there, and then it just quit on us. We will get more.
We will, because, you tend to, as early as June, you can get them, sometimes July, like we saw with Beryl. But August, September, and early October is the peak. If you were to look at a graph of hurricane frequency, there's just a huge jump in August. So even though there's very little going on right now, we don't expect that to continue. Once we get into next month in September, we'll be talking about hurricanes.
All right. Hey, have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. Day with day weather. So, I do know that the peak of hurricane season, having grown up in Florida, is a little bit later on. But still, it got really quiet out there. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by.
I don't even want to hear about hurricanes down there.
Jeez, yeah. Well, that
and I was down, and if you see the damage firsthand, you're like, what happened here? Because that thing was more powerful than the people and the buildings on the land.
Yes.
The vegetation and everything.
Even though we've gotten so much better at building against hurricanes, still, though, when one of those things gets determined, no. Which is why, growing up in Florida, I learned quickly, if there's some kind of a storm, I don't care what category it is, and it's moving toward me, I'm out.
Yeah, I saw a condo type building in Fort Myers, and the building made it absolutely fine through the hurricane, except that every window was broken and full with water.
Yeah. Whenever I hear that there's always somebody, well, I'm not going to let a hurricane scare me off, I'm staying. Well, then you're just a moron, okay? It doesn't take much just to load a few things in your vehicle and
go somewhere else.
And then when it passes, you come on back and clear up the damage. You can be somewhere else. Now, having said that, in my younger years, having been in radio, and I'm in radio in Florida, around Fort Myers, in fact, where you were. Mm-hmm. And so when a big storm would come, I would be the guy who would be on the air during the course of the storm. Now, of course, these buildings were built to take it. But still, after having gone through a couple of those, I'm thinking, I've done my part.
And I can't leave.
Yes.
So I might as well be on the air.
Yes. So from now on, when one of these storms come, I'll let them know, hey, I did the last two storms. It's somebody else's turn.
So let me get this straight.
Yes.
You were spinning the hits while the hurricane was going on.
Well, I wouldn't actually do that. Format's out the window. And so what's happening is all sorts of weather information is coming, and I get a chance to talk to local emergency officials.
Oh, well, you were actually...
The weather information says you're being hit by a hurricane.
No.
The emergency officials are saying, what are you doing here?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, of course, there's the big one, hey, you moron, don't go out in this. Because there's always people driving around outside. Hurricane's coming. I'm going to go for a drive. It's like here in Wyoming when we have a big blizzard blow across an area and you look out your window and some car's going by.
Don't you want to stay inside?
Yeah, you should have prepared for this and just don't go anywhere until it's all over.
See, that's all we got to do. All right, the National High School Finals Rodeo moving along in the second go-round, and that second go will continue through tomorrow morning session with the championship short go tomorrow night in Rock Springs. In the second go-round in the barrel racing, Abigail Olson from Sheridan is running third, Morgan Watt from Eden, Wyoming, in 13th in the goat tying, Hadley Thompson from Yoder 11th in the breakaway roping, Carly Peterson of Buffalo 7th in the cutting. Wyoming girls team has been fantastic in this rodeo. They're in second place, and they're only 30 points behind Texas. They've done really, really well. On the boys' side, Chaz Dewey from Carlisle is 7th in the bareback. Pace Guerra from Gillette 12th in the saddle bronc. This is in the second go. And Austin Pixley from Sundance 27th in the steer wrestling with a time of 19:54. So the rodeo continues this morning and tonight, and then tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow night is the championship short go. The Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo officially begins tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Frontier Park, the 128th annual. So far this week, they've had slack rounds in team roping, steer wrestling, tie-down roping, barrel racing, and steer roping. Like there were 193 team roping teams out there, 117 steer wrestlers, 192 guys in the tie-down, 216 barrel racers in the slack round, and 229 guys in the steer roping. It's incredible. So tomorrow at 1 p.m. starts the big CFD rodeo, and that will run all the way through the following Sunday at Frontier Park. American Legion Baseball, the Cheyenne Sixers in that Lubbock, Texas tournament beat Lubbock yesterday 6-0, and the wall ball team from Texas over the Cheyenne Hawks 10-4. Today the Sixers will take on the Fuego team and the Laramie AA Rangers up in Campbell County to meet the Gillette Rough Riders in a doubleheader. Coming up tomorrow, the Casper Oilers will host the Billings Scarlets, and the Cheyenne Sixers will be in that Lubbock tournament taking on the 505 Panthers. Collegiate Baseball, the Casper Spuds will winner again. They beat the Bison traveling team 6-0 in the Independence League play. They're 36-6 on the year, the Spuds, and those two teams will play tonight over at Lansing Field. Colorado Rockies Major League Baseball team will be at home to meet San Francisco to start the second half of the season. Rockies are 34-63 on the year. And the Wyoming Coaches Association High School All-Star Games will be tomorrow at Casper College. Volleyball will be at 1, the girls basketball game at 3, the boys basketball game at 5, and tonight will be the Hall of Fame banquet over at the Ramcota. That's it in sports.
Okay, so one of the first times that I went to Frontier Days, I wanted to see something which sounded really fascinating. And that's when they have their roundup and they bring all the cattle in?
Yeah.
Okay. So I
don't even think they do that anymore.
I don't know, but I thought, this is going to be fun. All these cowboys from all over the area. And, man, they bring in a lot of cattle for this. Oh, I can't wait to see this. It didn't look like what I thought. So they came down a road toward Frontier Park, and all of the cattle are sort of doing what they're told to do, which is no fun.
Yeah.
And since they're on a paved road, it sounded like about 200 cattle tap dancing.
But they're on the road, and they are moving towards the arena.
But
so
when you hear all those hooves going at once, I thought, no, really, they should just stop and do a tap dance routine. It would be great.
Those are the memorable Wyoming moments that you need to see more of.
Never forget. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business. News time. Open phones, too, next hour. 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97 WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's a Friday. I'm glad you made it.
Today's show was sponsored by Pretzel Flavored Mustard. Why eat the pretzel when you can just eat the mustard?
And you think about it, the convenience of that is also no chewing involved. The most dangerous time of the program.
Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave. All right, strap in and let's do this thing.
888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. So first off, Redbeard, who's from Guernsey. Morning, Glenn. Yesterday, coming back from Cheyenne, there was a huge hailstorm south of Chugwater. The hills to the east of I-25 looked like it was covered in snow. It was so white. You know, Redbeard, what a perfect place to go ahead and put a huge solar farm right up the middle of Hale Alley. I'm sure they're all over that because they've already got other solar farms going up in that general area where big hailstorms happen all the time. I'm sure it will be fine. All right, now, if you didn't know, because most of you don't own Teslas, if you buy a Tesla, there's a lot of fun things that you can program it to do. Or some really fun things. One of them is messing with the lights. So the exterior lights and the interior lights. What would you like to do? Would you like colors? Would you like strobing colors? You want to make a disco out of the inside of your car? Boy, there's all sorts of ways to do it. But also the sounds. So with the Tesla, when you're walking away from your vehicle, you don't have to remember to lock your vehicle. As you walk away from your vehicle, you have the key fob in your pocket. And the vehicle just knows, oh, you're leaving the vehicle, and it locks itself, right? Cool, right? Now, we're used to when a car locks, you hear that little tweak, tweak sound, right? Tesla has given people the option of making whatever sounds they want. They have a whole list of sounds to choose from, but if you would like to add in your own sound, you can do that too. So a father and son decided to play a prank on mom, and she doesn't know what to do about it. So she's turned to social media for help.
Got a bit of a problem. Every time I walk away from my car and it locks itself, it farts, and I don't know how to turn it off. My husband and my son have done this, so if there's anyone out there who owns a Tesla who knows how to stop it from farting, will you please let me know? Here's what it does, look. Please, someone tell me how to switch this off.
So what they did was they exchanged the usual tweak, tweak sound for a huge, wet, long, wet fart sound, which to me is just brilliant. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change a damn thing. I'd just leave it just like that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of Tesla, the only hit song that Al Gore thinks he ever had.
You're driving a big car. I come on your radio. I say the end's close. You just say no. I say it's global warming, but you call me a liar. But this planet's on fire.
So, speaking of electric vehicles and so on, this is not going to make the cult of climate change happy at all. They are not going to like this. Ford is expanding production of profitable gas-powered trucks at a plant that was meant for electric cars. I mean, dear Lord, they're just going to go insane. Well, maybe so. They're going to pretend to be insane. I'll tell you why in just a minute. The story says on Thursday, Ford CEO announced that the automaker will be expanding production of its F-Series Super Duty pickups to the Ontario plant with $3 billion in investments. The pickups are also produced in Kentucky and Ohio. And by the way, they are not going to be happy about this in Canada. Justin Trudeau is not going to like this. Story says the Super Duty is a vital tool for businesses and people around the world. And even with our Kentucky plant and Ohio assembly plant running flat out, we can't meet the demand. This move benefits our customers and supercharges and they've lost a ton of money. The Oakville Assembly Complex was supposed to produce electric vehicles with a $1.3 billion investment. Production of electric vehicles has been delayed. They say until 2027. I think it's going to be delayed a whole lot longer than that. The news comes recently as EV pickup truck sales and SUVs are not benefiting. In fact, companies like Ford have lost just a ton of money on this, just a ton of money. Now, one more thing, and then I'll get over to the phones there. So hang on, Judy. Coming to you. Mark Zuckerberg, who, of course, is a big proponent of man-made climate change, so he says, has a glossy $300 million, 287-foot diesel super yacht. Now, Zuckerberg has been extremely successful, and if he wants to buy a $300-some million super yacht, diesel-powered, God bless the man. But he is one of the biggest proponents of the cult of climate change. The staggering 387-foot vessel seen floating at Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, after arriving from its berth earlier this week, according to reports. DJ Nike's walking around asking that announcing Bob Newhart had died. It ruined his whole morning. Yeah, I heard that yesterday. Bob Newhart was one of my favorite all-time comedic actors, and his sitcoms were just the best ever. Sorry to see him go, because he never, to me, Bob Newhart's humor just never got old. All right, off to the phones we go. 888-97 was the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. You can talk about what I'm talking about, change the subject, fine by me. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. I had the opportunity to go to one of the Liberties for You town halls with Rob Hendry and Charlie Scott. I don't remember the other guy's name. I sat in the bar at the Ramcota and had a couple speed goats, so my memory isn't all that great, but I do have to apologize to him. I lost my cool because there was about 14 people there, maybe a little more, and questions came up, and I asked about the gravel pit, and they all, pretty much said they didn't want that gravel pit up there.
Okay.
And I'd had calls earlier in the day with questions, so I had about 12 of them, and I thought surely I could get three of them in, right?
Right.
And anyway, no, you get one question, and that was it, so it was like totally not acceptable to me, because the second question I was going to ask was to Rob Hendry. Well, if you're against that gravel pit so bad, why'd you change the land use plan to make it possible? Mm-hmm. And, it just, I don't know. I showed my butt and I embarrassed myself, I think, so I had to apologize to Liberty's Place for You for having too many beers before I went in.
Okay.
But anyway, it wasn't too bad. I mean, they could have done better. The questions were kind of willy-nilly, not really that interesting, with so much on the plate that we need to have in that seat. I just wasn't impressed with any of them.
Well, by the way, I did hear something yesterday. We were speaking of the gravel pit. So these meetings we have, the second one I hosted, they have to do them.
Yeah.
They have to have these meetings, and they have to have one more.
Yeah.
So for those people who've been involved in the gravel pit open public forums, before any decision is made, there has to be one more meeting on this.
Yeah, well, it's just courtesy for lip service. Basically, they don't have to listen to you, but they sure have to give the meetings, and that's part of the law. But getting back to this a little bit, when they passed that land use revision back in December before Rob Hendry had left county commissioners a couple years back, they worked on that thing up until 10 minutes before the meeting, and then they passed it. They didn't give proper notice, so it wasn't adopted properly. And I've said this to the guys on Coach Road, too. That might be something you can put in front of a judge if you go, end up having to go to court over this, because it's not a legally adopted thing. So they would have to revert back to what it was. Milne and Hendry and Peter Nicolason doctored that land use plan up that made that possible and so much more possible for businessmen instead of the people that live there. So I'm just throwing a win. If you're going to replace Charlie Scott with Rob Hendry, I think you're going to be really sorry.
Okay. All right. No more beers before meetings.
Yeah, and I do apologize, guys.
Yeah.
I had all these questions that people had given me, and I wrote them on cards, And I tried to hand it to him, here, pick whatever ones you guys think will, be okay.
Yeah.
And they said, he was like, no. And so I'm stuck with 12 cards here, and I'm thinking, God, there's only 14 people here, so maybe I can get a couple, 3 of them in.
Yeah.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. All right. Thank you, Jude. Have a great weekend.
You too.
So I do. Oh, and thank you, Chet. Chet and Yoder reminds me. Lou Dobbs, broadcaster, also just died. Besides Bob Newhart, on the same day, Lou Dobbs died. And for those who know Lou Dobbs, as far as I'm concerned, speaking as a broadcaster, he was one of the best I've ever seen. I mean, honestly, just one of the best. And I'm sorry to see him go, too.
4 simple steps to being an adult. Pay your bills. Because if you got it, you probably needed it. So if you don't pay it, you're going to lose it. So pay your bills. Only keep a few close friends. Most are after to get what they need out of you. And once they do, they're gone. Always wear deodorant. You don't want to be the stinky guy or stinky girl in the elevator. Don't smoke meth. You follow all these, you'll do just fine.
Hard work, hard work.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Got a couple of calls on the line, so I'm going to go to Brad first. Hang in there, Todd. I'm getting to you. Brad Buckner's on the phone about a buffalo hunt, which, by the way, I did get a chance to drive through that herd again, and that's a beautiful herd out there.
Yeah, it is. There's actually a lot of bull out there.
Yeah.
So Laramie Peak Fire Zone Foundation has an annual raffle for a hunt for 2 people on that ranch northwest of Wheatland. We'll just call it like 20, 21 miles, 25 miles, something like that. And the tickets are $5 a piece, or 5 tickets for $20. The drawing is going to be held September the 18th, okay, and then the hunt is October the 10th. LaramiePeakFireZone.org, LaramiePeakFireZone.org, all small letters, one word. You can go there, buy your tickets, get information. You can call 307-331-9146. Leave a message, get some help if somebody answers, talk to them. And there's 4 places, your drawings, it is a raffle. First place is a guided buffalo hunt. Second place is a Wyoming-made Model 307 Weatherby 30-06. Third place is a Weatherby Camilla edition. That's a 243, and that's for the ladies, basically. And fourth place is $250 cash. You can call 307-322-5650. You can get your tickets there, or you can mail to Laramie Peak Fire Zone, 1836 Cottonwood Park Road, Wheatland, Wyoming. Your request and payments, that's $5 for a ticket. A book is $20. That's 5 tickets. Self-addressed return envelope. They'll mail you the stubs. And again, go to LaramiePeakFireZone.org. Get all your information, buy your tickets, things like that. It's the Laramie Peak Fire Zone Foundation annual Buffalo Hunt Raffle. And it's a great time. You get a 1.5-year-old buffalo. You go out and shoot it yourself. You get the hide, the heads, you get the whole buffalo or any part of it that you want. The meat is all cut, wrapped, and frozen, ready to go. It's a fantastic deal for a fantastic purpose, which is
keep
funding
that fire station
the Laramie
going.
Peak Fire Zone.
As we get closer,
Yep.
Brad, call us back and remind us about that.
I will. Thank you,
All right.
and God bless all you guys.
All right, off we go to Todd, who's been patiently waiting over there in Torrington. Hello, Todd.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I got a couple things I needed to ask you. I know that you have probably gone over this ad nauseum, but the deal is that my schedule, I haven't been able to listen to the radio very much this summer.
Yeah.
2 things. Number one is that my dad said to me, he said, I don't think that the CIA or anybody actually set up this whole thing about getting the president shot. But he said, I don't think that they were willing to let a good opportunity go to waste.
Oh, okay.
I'd like your thought on that. And the second one was, and the second item is that I'm afraid Americans are very, very fickle, and they like the shiny penny. And I'm thinking they're going to throw Michelle Obama out there at the last minute to try to to try to get that shiny penny vote.
Okay.
That's my thoughts. I'd like
all right.
your comment.
On the first one, though, I think that really, from my perspective at this point, we had some random nutball and gross incompetence. And this is the analogy I used earlier this morning. Remember when Russia invaded Ukraine? We all thought that Ukraine was going to fall in a week or less. And then we found out how bad the Russian army really sucked. I have always thought that the Secret Service was just absolutely the best that there was. Apparently not. And it really hurts me to say that because I've always admired those guys. That's my thought there. I don't think I'm not in a conspiracy mode on this one at that point. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. What was the second one again?
The second one is about throwing Michelle Obama as,
right. Okay.
as a shiny penny vote.
My question, first thing this morning, right out of the gate, right at 6 o'clock, was, do you think that Biden will survive the weekend? And if he doesn't, who do they replace him with? So I would definitely put Michelle up there as one of the possibilities. Also, Governor Newsom could be another possibility. The Democrats are talking about that right now, and they'll be talking about that all weekend long if they're going to do this. So I would say Michelle is among a list of candidates. Pick your poison, because all of them are poison.
Yeah, that is for sure and certain.
All right.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Thank you, Todd.
sir.
Appreciate it. Todd calling from Torrington. So 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOOD. I got some more to talk to you about, which, by the way, thank you, Paisan. Paisan, thank you for the nod to Lou Dobbs. Yeah, and he really was just, I think, one of the best broadcasters I've ever seen. I'm sorry to lose him, along with Bob Hope, which, by the way, there's a couple of things I want to say about Bob Hope because he was one of my favorites. As we come out of the news and information break, it is still open phones. Also, for those near Cheyenne, Wyoming, have you noticed a broken wind turbine? A sagging blade? That and other things in your phone calls. 888-97 Woods, Wake Up Wyoming.
Again. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97 Woods. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So let's say some people sending me notes, which you can do over the Wake Up Wyoming app. All you have to do is download the Wake Up Wyoming app, free at your app store. And then one of the options on there is the chat option. Also, you can listen to old programs. So our friend over in Torrington doesn't get to listen to the radio much. I'll listen later off your phone. You can catch up anytime you want. It's not a problem. And again, it's all free. So, okay. Let me see. Thank you for the Lou Dot. Okay, here we go. Big Red, who's in Hawk Springs. Who in the world started this Michelle Obama to be president? She hates politics. She has no history of running an office. Yeah, well, neither did Obama, but look what he did. He wound up president. A really, really naive, incompetent man, Obama was. But all right. And True Dog in Cheyenne, there used to be a drinking game that could be played while watching old Bob Newhart shows. Every time a character on the show entered through the door and said, "Hi, Bob," he had a drink. So you didn't last long, did you? Greg from Cheyenne, the head of the Secret Service is a proponent of DEI. From what I heard, I think the shooter wanted to commit mass killings and could get close enough, and when security started looking for him, well, he retaliated and, crawled up and so. Oh, yeah, I think I can understand where you're going with that. And I've heard a lot about the DEI thing, too. In fact, some of those Secret Service agents I look at and think, like the big lady with the gun that couldn't even find her own holster. I kind of wonder about that. You should have that. You should be able to do that completely blindfolded, unholster and holster your weapon back and forth easily without even thinking about it. You're so well practiced. All right. I want to real quick, and you can interrupt me too, by the way, 888-97 Woods, 888-97-WOODS. So since our friend down the hallway, Sean, goes by DJ Nike, was having a bit of a Bob Newhart moment because Bob Newhart died. He got me thinking about it. I had heard that yesterday. And I started thinking about Bob Newhart as one of my all-time favorites. Before he ever did television shows, of course, he was a comedian, and he was so good. In fact, Milton Berle, one of the greatest comedians in the history of comedy, what a career he had, said, if you have to be dirty to be funny, you're not funny. Which to me says something about shock value. So in other words, is the audience laughing because they can't believe you just said that? Or are they laughing because it's genuinely funny? And genuinely funny is really difficult to do. And for those who know Bob Newhart, you know that he used to tell stories and act things out. His telephone call segments were just the best. But that's back when he was doing a comedian, and he rose to fame because back then, if you wanted to hear a comedian, and clubs, of course, are not everywhere, you could buy the comedy album. That was a big deal back then. Then he got into movies. He was in the movie Catch-22, by the way. But he was in a lot of different movies. Yeah, Greg and Cheyenne, Larry, Daryl, and Daryl. Yeah, well, both Bob Newhart shows. He was also on other sitcoms and also Big Bang Theory more recently. What I liked about him, he really did play a straight man. So Bob Newhart very rarely had the punchline in these TV shows and movies. He was the straight man. But as the straight man, his delivery was so good, he would just crack people up, which is what I always admired about the guy. Here's a line that is not a funny line. Just the way he said it, his stammering ways and so on, would just make it the funniest thing ever. And he wasn't a goofball either. He was a guy who was trying to be competent and serious, was his character essentially. And he never got old. I never got bored with him. I never got annoyed with him. I always enjoyed what he was doing because that was a genuinely funny guy. So, yeah, I'll miss Bob Newhart dearly. All right. You can change the subject on me if you want. That's fine. And for those who can see the wind turbines, if you're in Cheyenne, Wyoming, or around that area, apparently there's a sagging blade. Yeah, there's a couple of Facebook pages. One of them is WI Wind Here, a group of concerned citizens. And they posted, this photo was taken on the way to Cheyenne yesterday at a project that's only been up for about a year and a half. In the newest section of the development near the Walmart distribution center. According to Windwatch, about 70% of the smaller variety of turbines are recalled due to failures. It's simply unsustainable. How can you say unsustainable? These are supposed to be sustainable. See, another group also posted, let me get down to what they said. The Albany County, Wyoming for Smarter Energy Development. Turbine on the north side of I-80 between Laramie and Cheyenne, Wyoming, near the eastern edge of the road. And it shows, again, the three blades, the one that would be sticking straight up is just sagging down. It just completely failed. All right, now on that note, let me head over real quick. Let me see, there's four. Here we go. Nantucket residents. We're going to go way over to Nantucket. Nantucket, one of New England's premier summer tourist destinations, and they did not want offshore wind turbines. Well, now they're having angry public meetings.
It's one of the biggest tourist destinations in New England, shut down all because of a wind turbine.
This is a disaster to our community. You know, these people should be paying our town millions to find them for the problem.
The Massachusetts island of Nantucket saw most of its coastline closed to visitors after an incident at a nearby offshore wind farm. A turbine blade at the Vineyard Wind Project broke this week, sending fiberglass shards into the surrounding Atlantic Ocean, some of which later washed up on Nantucket's beaches, forcing the closures. By Wednesday, much of the debris was cleared, but public opinion on the project has soured.
Okay, you can better believe that it absolutely has. And this goes on for quite a bit about public opinion about the wind turbines, because Nantucket is absolutely a stunningly beautiful area, and they make a lot of money off of their tourists as well. So they didn't really want to see a wind turbine out there shatter and fall apart like this. But, wind turbines can fall apart for all sorts of different reasons. Some of the reasons can also include the wind. Oh, okay. This is Mark in Centennial. Hello, Mark.
Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
Good, sir. What you got?
So I live in, play politics in different arenas than most people in Wyoming do. I actually have Democrats who run as Democrats, and they're not the same Democrats we used to have. They're pretty woke, pretty, insane-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, this county did not even vote for Harriet in the last election.
Right.
So Albany County, do you think Trump will have enough coattails in Albany County to drag good people into office and get rid of some of these people that, Antifa posters that say go out and protect transgender people, people saying parental rights are stupid, what else? Saying that there's no way we would ever vote for a red flag, and then...
I think I have part of an answer for you on this one. So if you were to go take a look at a map, go look at Gainesville, Florida, but look at the political map. Red, of course, is the Republican area, and blue, of course, is the Democrat area. You will notice that that section of Florida is dark, dark, dark red, really red. But there's this one little dot that's really blue in the middle of it all, and that's Gainesville, which is where the university is, and that should answer your question.
Well, I understand what you're saying there, that because the university's here, that there are certain areas that we're going to have a hard time earning.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the old elections, and during presidential elections, there's only one district, and that's Carly Provenza's district, that go blue. The other two, where Ken Chesnick and Trey Sherwood are, actually are 52-48 Republican in Republican races. But do you think the Trump Republican, the women will come out and actually
That's
vote?
really going to be interesting to see. I don't know the answer to that. It's going to be interesting to see how they turn, to see if you have some swing voters in the area. That's going to be the key.
Yeah. I just think we got to get out and knock on doors.
Oh, yeah. That's the way to do it. Knock on doors, start talking to people, get a hold of those swing voters. In the state of Wyoming, there are highways that need your attention. You can adopt a highway.
Morty and I, we couldn't have a highway of our very own, so we adopted one.
Yes, make sure Wyoming highways stay clean and well-maintained. Adopt a highway today, like this couple did.
He's a lovely little 2-lane road. We hope he grows up someday to become an interstate.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, on air, online, and on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is K2 Radio.
7:50 the time, off to the icebox we go. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Quick one for you, Frank. I really admire this person's sense of humor. There's a picture of a bunch of Sesame Street Muppets, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And someone writes, nude photos of the Muppets have been leaked online. And then there's a bunch of hands being held up.
Oh.
Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought.
Who thinks of that stuff?
Whoever.
Some kind of creepy guy?
Creepy, whatever the case is, I thought that's clever.
All right. All right. The Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo in Ernst will begin tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Frontier Park. Now, through the course of this week, there have been various slack rounds. Like there were 193 team ropers, teams of team ropers. Steer wrestling had 117 guys in the slack. The tie-down roping, 192 in slack. Barrels, 216 ladies in the slack round. And steer roping guys, 229 of them. So that will begin tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Frontier Park. It is a big money rodeo, and that will run all the way through the week and then conclude the following Sunday. The National High School Finals Rodeo moving along as we speak in the second go-round. In that second go, for the ladies, the Wyoming girls are running second. They're only 30 points behind Texas. They've had a terrific rodeo so far. In the barrel racing, Abigail Olson of Sheridan is running third in the second go. Morgan Watt of Eden, 13th in the go tying, and Hadley Thompson of Yoder, 11th in the breakaway roping. Carly Peterson of Buffalo, 7th, and that's all in the second go-around. For the guys, they are in 21st place. Chaz Dewey from Carlisle is 7th in the bareback in the second go. Pace Garrett out of Gillette is 12th in the saddle bronc, and Austin Pixley from Sundance is 27th. So the second go will be today, the first session today, and the second session today, and the first session tomorrow, and the championship go short go will be on Saturday night. American Legion baseball, the Cheyenne Sixers are in that Lubbock, Texas tournament, and they beat Lubbock yesterday 6-4. The Cheyenne Hawks lost to the Wall Ball team 10-4. And also today, the Laramie AA Rangers will have a doubleheader at Gillette. Cheyenne Sixers in that Lubbock tournament will take on Fuego. And Saturday, the Billings Scarlets will be in Casper to take on the Oilers. In American in Independence League baseball for the collegiate guys, the Casper Spuds over the Bison traveling team, 6-0. The Spuds are 36-6 on the year, and those two teams will play tonight at Lansing Field. The Colorado Rockies Major League Baseball team are starting the second half of the season, taking on the San Francisco Giants. The Rockies are 34-63 on the year. Wyoming Coaches Association All-Star Games will be coming up tomorrow at the T-Bird Gym at Casper College. Volleyball will be at 1 p.m., the girls basketball at 3 p.m., the boys basketball at 5 p.m. tomorrow, and the Hall of Fame banquet is tonight at the Ramcota Hotel in Casper. And that's it in sports.
Some years ago, using my press pass, I was at the Frontier Days there in Cheyenne, and I got down into where they have the doctors, the nurses.
Yeah, the Justin Boots trailer.
The triage.
Yeah. There's always somebody in there.
Oh, my Lord. The time I went down there, it had been going on for a while, and so there were people all over the place. I mean, it looked like a Civil War scene.
It's like MASH.
With all of the bodies lined out being triaged, and yet the number of them that just wanted to be bandaged up and send me back in there.
Right, exactly, yeah. If the more I'm not in this trailer, I'm not making any money.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So get me out of there.
Yeah.
And they will just go ahead and get bandaged, and, those bandages are badges of honor.
Yeah,
by the way.
And sometimes they make return visits to the
and helps you pick up chicks too.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure it does. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire. The situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required.
Again.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Wood. Thanks for joining me. All right, it is open phones. And you get a chance to vent before we get into the weekend. So 888-97 Woods the phone number. That's 888-97 WOODS. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Let me try that again. This goes here. That goes there. Set this to restart over here. Up again. And we're going to try it again. One more time. Here we go. Boom.
Today's show is sponsored by pretzel-flavored mustard. Why eat the pretzel when you can just eat the mustard?
And what's nice is no chewing is involved, especially if you have dentures.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee,
and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave. So I just heard some news top of the hour about, and again, you know what I'm like with polls, And they were talking about the vice president and what if she was at the top of the ticket if Biden drops out over the weekend, and so there she is now. And what do Americans think of her? And they said 6 out of 10 Democrats think she'd do just fine. Think that she's a smart and wonderful woman, and yeah. Well, maybe that's in Democrats, but and then across the country, it depends on who you're talking to. I have an extremely negative impression of her. But I know not everybody in the country does. But then again, well, you're a low information voter, essentially. Not really knowing who she is. But all right. Let's get back to Wyoming here. According to Cowboy State Daily, Wyoming Democrats split on whether President Biden should stay in the race or not. Now, this is actually an easy poll to do. First off, the population of Wyoming is not very big, right? Cool. Okay. Out of that, how many registered Democrats, not how many Democrats, how many registered Democrats do we have in Wyoming? Okay. So how hard is it to poll them? Not hard at all. You can probably get it done in a half hour. So, all right. The story says, as voices and momentum urging President Joe Biden to end his reelection campaign grow, Wyoming Democrats say they understand the desires of many voters for a younger candidate. Now, let me just pause right there, because to me it's not about so much a younger candidate. For my sister, it is, no, definitely younger. Get them younger. I get it. Okay, but cognitive ability. Because I've met people who are 81 years old, and man, are they switched on. Physically, mentally, they're just nonstop. And so I have every confidence in them. Then there's other people who are much younger than that, and they got problems. So it depends on who we're talking about. It's not an age issue with me. It's a cognitive ability. All right, so the story says Biden has received an onslaught of criticism after the debate, I would say even before, but many Democrats have called for him to drop out of the race. In recent days, that pressure has increased. That's why I've been saying, and I always have to preface this, do you think Biden will survive the weekend? Politically. He'll live through the weekend, but what about politically? Story says, even as the pressure on Biden mounts, the Wyoming Democrat Party continues to voice its public support for Biden on social media pages. Joe Biden, chairman of this, Joe Biden. I'm not going to pronounce that. Guy's name is Joe. I'm not going to get his last name right. I'm not even going to try. Chairman of the state party said he's still standing behind Biden and he believes the president is more capable of performing the job. Supporting President Joe Biden and the vice president re-election efforts, he said, I think they've done a phenomenal job. Okay. You can continue to try to sell that if you want. Go ahead. Other state Democrats offered a wide range of opinions. So these are Democrats we're talking to, demonstrating just how fluid the situation remains with little more than 3 months remaining before the presidential election. On Thursday, Axios reported that several top Democrats believe the rising pressure of party congressional leaders could get Biden to drop out this weekend. It's not just the pressure of Democrat leaders. That's a big part of it. A lot of big money people that donate heavily. I mean, deep pockets don't go deep enough for these guys. Really, a lot of money has been pulled. I mean, we're talking like $100 million people that would normally donate like $100 million. Gone. Until Biden is no longer around. They're just out. ABC News reported Tuesday that a new letter is being circulated among Democrats on Capitol Hill, calling on Democrat National Committee to delay a virtual roll call. See, they wanted to do a roll call to lock Biden in as their nominee now before the convention, and others are saying no. So on Thursday, the Washington Post reported that former President Barack Obama has told allies in recent days that Biden's path to victory has greatly diminished, and he thinks the president needs to seriously consider the viability of a candidacy. And then let's go back to here in Wyoming. Other Democrats in the cowboy state speaking in Wyoming, are split on the matter. So one Cheyenne Democrat in the camp of those who are wanting Biden to get out commends his lifelong achievements, which makes me go, but okay. She says the president, as part of the old guard, and not her first or second or third or fourth choice for president when he ran back in 2020. She's frustrated the State Department has taken similar stance on the matter, although she sees herself as presenting a different mold. She says she couldn't disagree with many people that told her at the doorstep during the 2022 run for the Wyoming Senate and DNC that they have forgotten about rural America. The party has. Quote, the Wyoming Democrat Party feels paralyzed by the reliance on the DNC, which merely pays the bills and does little else. So in other words, what she's saying is we're flyover country here in Wyoming. And the Democrat Party has not been paying attention to flyover country. Others are saying stay the course, stick with Biden. Okay. So it's interesting to me that the Democrat Party in Wyoming is split on this. There's not a unified front. Then my answer to the Democrats is, oh, no, please keep them in. Oh, gosh, no, please do.
Welcome to Woke Radio WOK. Let's look at today's calendar and see what we're offended by. Or you can go outside and play it by ear. Just make sure everybody feels as miserable as you.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Mike has been patiently waiting by. Morning, Mike. What you got for me?
I had a very, very rare sighting this morning.
Okay.
Someone with both hands on the wheel.
Wow.
That's very rare, right?
And they weren't like talking over speakerphones or something like that? They were actually paying attention to driving?
Didn't look like it.
Holy cow. Okay. Now,
That's very rare.
Yeah. Now, were they doing everything else properly? Were they like driving with both hands on the wheel and paying attention to where they're going? I mean,
from what it looked like, yes, that looked like they were doing pretty good.
Holy cow. Speed limit? Were they doing the speed limit?
I would say, yeah.
Wow. Holy cow. Wonder what the hell their problem is.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, you too. God, it's just the weirdest thing. Hey, I just came across this. This I think, is something for you to think about. For all of those of you who are looking at your bodies and thinking, I've really got to get back in shape. First off, chances are you never were in shape in the first place, a large majority of you. So don't give me that back in shape nonsense. But Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones has outlived health guru Richard Simmons. That should really make you question all of this eating healthy and exercising nonsense. Okay? Just wanted to get that out of the way. All right, now, 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So some people are really afraid if Trump gets reelected. For example,
are you concerned that Trump might be elected again? Shortly?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. And he says it openly. Now, again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, global government or whatever.
Yeah, some people are really worried about that. Here's what I want. Speaking as the libertarian in the room, or in your car, if that's where you have me right now, here's what I want. And by the way, this just shot an image into my mind. For those of you who drive to work listening to this program, I'm like that passenger who never shuts up, right? God, why do you keep inviting me back into your car? You know that passenger, you're driving somewhere on a long trip that's going to take a couple of hours, and you got someone sitting next to you that just won't shut up, and you would like a little peace and quiet while you drive? I'm that guy. Why do you keep... Okay. Anyway, what I really want, speaking as the more libertarian kind of guy, is not globalism, is not some leadership quality, anything like that. When it comes to an elected president or members of Congress or even your mayor, your governor, whatever it might be. Remember a while back I talked to you guys about what is a republic. Now, a republic is not a direct democracy. In a direct democracy, the majority rules over your life. Rather than a monarch ruling over your life, instead the majority of the people rule over your life. That's what a direct democracy is. We are a representative republic, or you could say a democratic republic, but in either way, we're a republic. What that means is you're in charge of you. Your life is yours. Your decisions are yours. That also means the responsibilities are yours. So for those people who say, we want universal government-run health care, government is filled with a bunch of irresponsible boobs. These people are not smart. They're not clever. They're not honest. Okay, they have no idea what they're doing. They're ignorant. They lie. They're not good at fixing anything. Why would you want them to take over your health care or your education or your kids' education, for that matter? No, I don't trust them to do a whole lot. That's on you. Rather than constantly trying to find government programs to run everything, that's you. This whole idea that we need people to lead us and to guide us. There was a time, and I want to say it was when President, I'm trying to remember if it was Clinton or Obama. Some of you might remember this. But it was a town hall meeting. I think it was Clinton. Town hall style meeting. And this guy stands up, looks like a hippie guy, stands up and says, but, you got to take responsibility, he's telling him. You're like our parents here. You're supposed to, no. Your elected officials are not, you're supposed to be your parents or your rulers. They're not supposed to be leading you anywhere. Your life is yours. You make those decisions. You choose your path. The job of the politician is to protect that. When it comes to the free market in the United States, there should not be the guiding hand of government trying to steer the free market, which is what you have now with the Biden administration, trying to say we're going to transition from this kind of coal and gas and so on to wind and solar, and you're all going to own electric cars. And you're going to stop using gas stoves at home. It's none of their business what you do. It's none of their business at all what you do. You go do what you want to do. That's what I want when it comes to politicians, even on the global scene, not just on your local scene. Enough of these people who are think that they were elected to be in charge of us. I don't want them to be in charge of us. Oh, wild transplant in Cheyenne. Everyone calls George Soros spooky dude. He has nothing on Yuval Harari. Oh, okay. Did I pronounce his name right? No, and that's another person, by the way, George Soros, who is a spooky dude, who is trying to pull strings and oftentimes is successful at doing it. But even then, when it comes to who do you want to be the next president of the United States? Well, I would like someone who understands that I'm an individual who's going to make my own decisions, and they're not to get involved in my life or your life for that matter. I don't want them trying to solve my problems or your problems because they don't know how. That's your responsibility. And that's a hell of a responsibility. That's a lot of work. It's hard. Not just leading your own life, but if you got a family, you got to take care of all of that too. If you're a business owner, dear Lord, the pressure, but you chose that path. And government's job is there to protect that path so you can do what you want to do. They're not here to tell you what to do. They're not here to provide for you. And that's the mistake that we've made. So for all those people who dream of global governance or even just local governance, When someone sees you live in a lifestyle that they disapprove of, the answer is none of their business. For that matter, when you see someone else live in a lifestyle that you disapprove of, also none of your business. And government's job is to protect that. That's what freedom and liberty really is. So when I listen to what I just played for you, are you afraid of Trump being elected? I just want a guy who understands what I just explained to you. Which is what this republic, by the way, was designed to be. Morning, Fire Pit Paul. Politicians aren't leaders, they are representatives. Exactly. That's what they're supposed to be. But they forgot that, Paul, and most Americans forgot that too. They want a politician in office to take care of us, to provide for us, to get rid of our student loans, to provide a free education, free health care, free this, free that, et cetera, et cetera. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of, we're going to roll into news time after that, national, local. Update on your weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Morning Wild Transplant. He's over there in Cheyenne. Fire Pit Paul also in Cheyenne. All right, so hold calls for just a bit. As I said earlier today, I found out yesterday Bob Newhart had died, and he was one of my all-time. Even when I was a kid, I used to watch him, and I just couldn't get enough of him because he's just a naturally funny guy. Never told a dirty joke that I ever heard. He was just naturally funny. Not shocking, not raunchy in any way, just in his mannerisms. You could give this guy a straight line, and he would deliver it in a way that would bust you up. Now, one bit that he did, and this is old television. This is from back in the old black and white television days. It was one of his telephone skits. Now, this is where Sir Walter Raleigh is having a phone conversation, which is an actual historic figure, with the colonies about this thing that they found called tobacco that they would like to bring to Europe and sell.
Hello, who's calling? Oh, Sir Walter Raleigh from the colonies. Yeah, put him on, will you? Hey, Harry, you pick up your extension, will you? It's Nutty Walt again. Hi, Walt, baby. Good hearing your voice. Things are fine here, Walt. The a boatload of turkeys you sent us over here last November, they're still here, Walt. Yeah, they're walking all over London. See, that isn't a holiday over here, Walt. Just in America. Yeah, you got another winner for us, Walt, have you? Tobacco. What's tobacco, Walt? A leaf. You've got 80 tons of it. You bought 80 tons of leaves, Walt? Oh, you're beautiful, Walt. Walt, I don't know if you noticed last time, we have plenty of leaves over here in England. See, come fall, we're up to... It's a special kind of leaf. It's some kind of food, is it, Walt? No, not exactly. What do you do with the leaves, Walt? Lots of different things. Are you saying snuff, Walt? And what's snuff? You take a pinch of tobacco and you stick it up your nose, and it makes you sneeze. I imagine it would, Walt, yeah. Goes over very big there, does it? Yeah, goldenrod seems to do it over here, Walt. Tobacco has other uses. You can chew it or stuff it in a pipe. Or you can shred the leaves, put it in a little piece of paper, roll it up. You don't have to tell me, Walt. You stick it in your ear, right? Between your lips. Okay, Walt. And then what do you do with it? You set fire to it, Walt. Harry, you want to get on the intercom? I don't want the boys to miss this. You spilled your coffee. What's coffee, Walt? It's a drink you make out of beans. You roast them, and then you pour them in a cup. You drink it in the morning while you smoke your cigarette. I'm still here, Walt. I'm still here. Look, Walt, I'll tell you what you do. Put some of those on the boat. Yeah. If you can hook them with the burning leaves, I'm sure they'll go for the beans. I'm with you, Walt. Do me one favor, Walt. Don't call me anymore.
Okay, so Bob Newhart back when he was young, and I thought that the older he got, the better that comedic timing got, so I'm going to really miss the guy. And even when he was, he's gotten really old there, but he was still doing television shows and so on. And again, that humor, although he got a little bit slower in his walk and his talk, though, that humor was still always just as good. In fact, I even think a lot of it just got better with age as far as that delivery goes. But as a storyteller, though, that's what I really like. Because what you just heard there, all he has to do is sit on stage and act like he's on the phone and then tell a story. Now, here's what I love about the story. Tell me what about that was not accurate. Yeah, if you think about what is snuff, you take this tobacco leaf and you shove it up your nose. And what is a cigarette? You roll up this tobacco leaf and you in a piece of paper and put it in your lips and then you let it on fire. And when you describe it that way, something that we look at as perfectly normal, you suddenly realize, oh, dear God, that just sounds really weird when you heard it for the first time. It's a lot like asking the question, who was the first guy to try milk from a cow? Somebody had to think of that. Who was the first person to try an egg? Somebody had to think of that. That's the kinds of questions that Bob Newhart came up with, especially in his younger stand-up years and those albums that he did. Back when that's the way most people heard stand-up comedians, is they had to buy the album because clubs were not all that common. Coming up at 9:43, Wake Up.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Coming up on 9:48 is Wake Up Wyoming. Well, if we head on over to the icebox. Frank, you there yet? Didn't think he was. Okay. Well, I was kind of wondering, okay, well, we're getting real close. Yep, it's 9:48.
Frank Gambino, Studio 6. Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
Now, sometimes Frank gets a little busy with something and forgets, or doesn't forget, just thinks it's a different time than it really is. In which case, I have to tell Miss Mary to go track him down.
Frank Gambino, Studio 6. Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
What's fun about that is, and I've said that I haven't told this story in a while, but you see, Frank remembers the day. He remembers the days of the Lady Alex. And the Lady Alex would go yell at him. Miss Mary doesn't yell at him. Frank, is there someplace you're supposed to be? Yeah, she says, I will go holler at him. She's not going to holler. She's worse than that. And Frank is more scared of Miss Mary than he ever was of the Lady Alex. Just because of the way she does it. Frank, is there someplace you're supposed to be?
Frank
so she's
Gambino,
gone off to go get him.
Studio 6.
And I can tell because my studio door here has a little window in it. It's a tiny little window. It's vertical. And I can look over and see the studio that Frank walks into. And I saw, the door's open. Frank's not there. Okay. Well, if the door's open and Frank's not there, there's a good chance Frank got busy with something and completely lost track of time or had to be somewhere. And usually he's really good at this. He'll tell us, I can't be here during the next break. You'll have to fill, which is rare, but he does that on occasion. He rarely forgets us. Wait. I hear him coming in. Okay, he just shut the door. He's sitting down and putting the headphones on.
Frank Gambino, Studio 6. Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
All right, I'm here.
Did Miss Mary yell at you?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
You're supposed to be on the air. What are you doing down here? You taking a nap?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. She's
What the hell's the matter with you?
Yeah, that's right. Were you taking a nap?
No.
Okay, you should have been.
Well, now it would have been an easier excuse.
Right. Hey, there is going to be, and I think this is worth going to here, Douglas, Wyoming will have a drag race.
Oh, they used to have them a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then there was a problem politically or whatever with the drag strip, you know. Right. But they, at the time, and this is years and years and years ago, it was top notch. They had top alcohol dragsters there and you know, modified stocks and everything. It was great.
Now, by alcohol draggers, Frank does not mean that the drivers were on alcohol, though that would have been fun.
No. Yes. These are the long-nosed dragsters.
So it's going to be, let me see, 8 a.m.? 8 a.m. Saturday, July 20th, 2024. So for people in Douglas that are trying to get some sleep on Saturday morning.
Forget about it.
They're going to wake you up at 8 a.m. with drag racing.
You betcha. All right, the National High School Finals Rodeo continuing this morning in Rock Springs in the second go-round. So far in that second go for the ladies, Abigail Olson of Sheridan is third in the barrel racing, Morgan Watt of Eden 13th in the goat tying, Hadley Thompson of Yoder 11th in the breakaway roping, Carly Peterson of Buffalo 7th in the cutting. The Wyoming girls team has been really, really good in this rodeo. They are currently in second place, and they are just 30 points behind Texas for first. Wyoming boys team is running in 21st place so far. In the second go-round, Chaz Dewey from Carlisle is 7th in the bareback. Pace Garrett of Gillette 12th in the saddle bronc, and Austin Pixley of Sundance is 27th in the steer wrestling. So these two sessions today in Rock Springs are part of the second go, as well as the first session tomorrow. Then the championship short go will be on Saturday night. The Wyoming Coaches Association All-Star Games will be coming up on Saturday afternoon at the T-Bird Gym at Casper College. Volleyball at 1 p.m., girls basketball at 3 p.m., and boys basketball at 5 p.m. That Hall of Fame banquet for the WCA will be tonight at the Ramcota Hotel in Casper. Also, back to rodeo for a second. The Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo will actually begin in earnest on tomorrow at 1 p.m. at Frontier Park. Now, all week, they've had slack rounds in various events, like in the team ropers, 193 teams in the slack. Steer wrestling, 117 guys. Tie down, 192 contestants. Barrels, 216. Steer roping, 229. It's been amazing. So it's a big money rodeo. It's a blast. It's 128th annual. So that'll start tomorrow at 1 p.m. and run all the way through the following Sunday at Frontier Park in Cheyenne. Baseball in the American Legion levels, and the Cheyenne Sixers over Lubbock in that Lubbock tournament 6-0. And the Cheyenne Hawks lost to the Wall Ball team 10-4. The Laramie Rangers tonight will be at Gillette for a doubleheader. Coming up on Saturday, the Casper Oilers will host the Billings Scarlets. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds beat the Bison of the traveling team 6-0 in Independence League play. The Spuds are 36-6. Those two teams play tonight in at Lansing Field in Casper. And the Colorado Rockies will start the second half of the Major League Baseball season, taking on the San Francisco Giants. The Rockies were just awful in the first half of the season, going 34-63, and that's it in sports.
Okay, so sometimes I have to translate what Frank said for the non-sports people. When Frank says slack round, he doesn't mean slackers.
No, it's just that they have so many contestants that they have to have really an extra round to get them all in, so then they'll have time during the weekday sessions to have room for them.
And when we're talking drag racing and Frank says alcohol run, the driver's not drunk.
No, it's just what they run.
Although that would be more fun. They don't do it that way.
Wait till they warm up the tires. That'll wake up the whole town.
Because there's absolutely no way they're going to do a straight line drag race if the driver's drunk.
Right.
It's just not happening.
Wait till they warm up the tires.
So that's I might just go to that. All right, thank you, Frank. You're doing this at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday in Douglas? There's going to be complaints. You guys have a great weekend. Let's wake up, Wyoming.